Hey guys, and welcome to Quality Shot. As you can probably tell, I've been putting this off because honestly, it genuinely hurts even to think about. It really does. The title will probably be something along the lines of Australia break Pakistan hearts, but it may as well say Australia break my heart. It was just, first of all, what a fantastic semi-final, and I can't quite fathom. I still can't process what's happened in this match. It's a day later, and I still can't. It's difficult because Pakistan have had probably one of the best tournaments in terms of up until the semi-finals that I've seen for a very long time. Honestly, the reason why I say that is because if you look at the other tournaments, we normally end up losing at the start and then we come on strong towards the end. We didn't do that. We were just strong throughout, and on the only unbeaten side until we ended up losing to Australia in the semi-final. But yeah, I mean, it happens. T20 cricket, and fair play to Australia. To be honest with you, I had my doubts about them coming into the World Cup. I didn't think they'd be able to. I actually didn't predict them to make the semi-finals. I predicted England and West Indies, and I wouldn't have been surprised if South Africa or Australia got through, but Australia weren't my pick. Now, I actually also said that I would prefer if we played Australia rather than South Africa in the semi-finals. Clearly, that was a mistake. And we could have lost to South Africa anyway as well, but Australia basically did exactly what they did and have done to Pakistan in a few very, very, very big matches. The 1999 World Cup, where honestly Pakistan probably had, I would say, one of our best teams ever in a ODI World Cup. And they just rinsed us in the final. That was a very good Aussie team as well. 2010 semi-final of the World Cup, Mike Hussey obviously with his heroics, and mirrored here, right, with Matthew Wade. Australia have got through after people doubted them and said that they weren't a particularly good T20 side, including myself. So I need to now hold my hands up and say, okay, yes, they haven't looked that good until this point, but they've done the business when it matters, and they're through to the final. I think either way, it will be looked at as a pretty good tournament of Australia, even if they don't win the final. But they will go into the underdogs, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do take the trophy. I don't think they're as big underdogs as people may think. And they've got some very, very good players who are on song. Let's get into this then, the Pakistan-Australia review, some of the key moments, etc. as well. So for those of you who didn't watch the match, Pakistan posted 176 for 4, which was, I thought, just above par. I thought par was probably around 160, 165. Looked a pretty good even to bat on. But when you're batting first, you don't want to be 3 wickets down in the power play. That's the issue. So Pakistan, which to be fair, they've done in nearly all matches, especially even when they've been chasing, is being a little bit more conservative but keeping wickets in hand for the first 10 overs. It's worth obviously noting that Australia won the toss and elected to field, which was a slight advantage, no doubt. Chasing has been slightly easier. Well, I think it's definitely been easier in this tournament, as the record suggests, but majority of that was down to the presence of dew at the start of the tournament. Now it's got a lot cooler in the UAE. It's less of a factor, if not a moot point completely. So looking at the match as a whole, I do feel like though it's still, there is a slight advantage in chasing, despite the lack of dew or complete absence of it. But Pakistan, I thought, did a pretty good job. I mean, early doors, I think we were 70 for 1, around the 70 for 1 mark at the 10 over mark, which is good. I thought Rizwan and Babar, I think Babar Azam will be disappointed in how he got out. He obviously was pretty set, and he just tried to play what can only be described as a slog, really, off Adam Zampa, the last ball of the over as well, and that then completed the first 10. We could have had, 70 for no wicket. That would have obviously been a lot better, but would it have changed the complexity of the match? I don't know. Barber could have got out next ball. You never know. But I think he'll be a little bit disappointed with that, but that's not the reason why we lost. Rizwan was really good. In hospital, everyone's seen it the last couple of days. The pictures of him being in hospital. He was in hospital, I think, for flu-like symptoms the 2 days before. He performed really well. At the start, he was not fluent whatsoever. Barber looked really good in terms of timing of the cricket ball. Rizwan didn't. Eventually, in spurts, he started to show promise. A couple of really good shots, especially off Hazelwood and Zampa, sixes over mid-wicket. And then towards the end, he started batting very well. So that was impressive. And then Babar Azam, who, to be honest with you, I was almost cursing at the watch-along. First of all, thank you, everyone as well, who did join the watch-along. It was great fun. And, I really, really did enjoy it despite... Well, I enjoyed it up until the last 2 overs of the match. And that's just because, obviously, being a Pakistan fan, it was just, it was heart-wrenching, honestly. But Babar Azam was batting really slowly, really, really slowly from the off. And he was going, I think, around a ball, if not less. And that wasn't ideal. But then eventually, he did what you need to do if you're going to bat slowly at the start of your innings, which is accelerate then on the back end and make up for it. And that's exactly what he did. 55 of 32. A little red inker there as well, good for the average, and a strike rate of 171. So really good. And then Pakistan, the one thing Pakistan will be disappointed with is the other guys coming in not really getting and contributing at all. Obviously, Asif Ali came in first ball, golden duck, tried to hit him down the ground, towed it straight to the man. Shoaib Malik got bowled with an off-cutter second ball from Stark coming around the wicket. Shoaib Malik is a very good player of spin, and he's a good finisher against pace. Anything that's kind of above 88 miles an hour he struggles with. He's older, right? His eyes are probably not what they used to be, let's be honest. And then Hafiz, obviously, with the one not out. But I felt like Pakistan, at one stage, we could have easily got 180, 190. We definitely faltered a little bit, and that was slightly disappointing. But overall, I thought it was defendable for sure. Bowling wise, obviously Stark was quite good. He did get a tap from Babar Azam, to be fair, in the last 2 overs that he bowled. Babar Azam hit him for 21, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the overs, which was a huge over. Stark, though, then only went for 3, if I'm not mistaken, or was it Pat Cummins only went for 3? Sorry, in the over after, which was just like cancelled out completely. I think he was bowling slow balls, 3 dots, picked up wickets as well. Pat Cummins picked up a wicket of Asif Ali as well, and he bowled really well. Obviously, only going for 7.5s, and Maxwell 6.67. He actually started the flow of wickets. It was 6 dots into Babar and Rizwan, and then they brought on Zampa, and he did the damage. Got Babar Azam, and he bowled really well, sublimely, fantastic flight, guile, very good control as well. 4 overs 22 and 1 wicket, 5.5 economy. Mitchell Marsh got tap in his 1 over. That was a strange decision. Some of the bowling changes I didn't quite make sense to me. I think they brought on Maxwell too early. But then eventually Maxwell, then after I think he went for 10 in his first over, he tightened up a lot, bowled really well, which I think from a Pakistan perspective would be frustrating because that's someone who you're trying to target. Hazelwood was... Look, uncharacteristically hit around, to be fair. Normally in the power play, the first 2 overs he's good. A second 2, he can get a bit of tap, but normally he doesn't end up with an economy of 12.25. So I think that's something that they'll look at against New Zealand. But overall, a pretty good bowling display overall. And Australia chasing. So obviously chasing the 177, if I'm not mistaken. At the start, it was you have to get early wickets. And Shaheen bowled an probably the best over I've seen in the World Cup. I'm not saying that just because I am Pakistani, but lots of other people said it who aren't either. It was just high quality, elite swing bowling at high pace, high pace swing bowling that from a left arm angle as well. And it was swinging late. It was so good, so accurate, so quick that I'm not joking. The openers and Mitch Marsh, they didn't know where the ball was almost for most of that first over. It was, I think, 5 out of 6 balls playing. The first ball to Warner, beauty. shaped away from him. Warner is literally squared up. Second ball, Warner, I think, gets a single, right? Manages to get off strike. Third ball, if I'm not mistaken, was Finch. And this, by the way, is an absolute peach of a delivery. Full swinging. Finch literally just, by the time he's gone to plant his front foot down, his front pad has been blown off. His LBW is gone. Just explodes, basically. It's just such a good delivery. Traps an LBW. Finch doesn't even bother reviewing, just walks off. And it was like he just played it so late. It was just unbelievable. And then Mitch Marsh came in. I'm not joking. The rest of that over was Mitch Marsh just missing everything. It was like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is just ridiculous. He was struggling a lot. I think he missed a couple where I think the first ball he faced, his bat was out here, his body was down here. He just looked all over the place. And that's what happens when you face incredible bowling like that. You're, as a batsman, you just look silly. You look very unnatural. You look like you're almost like it looked like it was a counter player coming to play at a village side and bowling to the batsman. And the batsmen are just like, we can't see the ball. And that's what it looked like in that over. But after that, to be fair, Australia were good. They were really good. Warner and Marsh, they rebuilt. They did really well, I thought, to be fair. Imar's team got tap in his overs. He bowled one good over, I think, and then towards the end he tied up nicely. But there was one over where he got slapped, and it was by Mitch Marsh, but especially David Warner. He was really, really good. 49 off 30. And then came what could only be described as a potential match-winning spell from Shadab that in the end wasn't, because Pakistan weren't clinical enough and didn't take their catches, honestly. But we'll talk about that now, actually. Shadab Khan. He was so good. He was really good. And like Zampa for Australia, he did a similar job, but he picked up a lot of wickets, probably also because Australia, I don't think they respected him enough and played some false shots. But 4 wickets for him. And the first one was Mitch Marsh, who just tried to go big, ballooned it up in the air. Easy catch for Asif Ali. And 28 or 22, and that broke that partnership, which was a really good partnership at the time. It was 50 plus. And it looked like if they were going to stay in, they were going to cruise to victory. Then he picked up Steve Smith. A very weird shot from Steve Smith, trying to slog sweep almost Shadab, which was a bizarre decision. Picked out the man at deep mid-wicket, and he was very frustrated with himself. And then Maxwell, I mean, this was a beauty. He just bowled so well. Maxwell picking out the fielder as well, and Shadab just was bowling quality. Very good control, good googly. Zampa's got a very good googly as well. And he was just tying them down. And it was just so good to watch. And at that stage, I think they were... so he picked up those wickets. And at that stage, let's think about it. They were 96 for 5, right? So 96 for 5. They still needed, right? They still needed 71 runs. 71 runs from like 7-ish overs, right? Let's just say. Okay, they needed a rate of just over 10. Stoinis and Wade at the crease. And obviously, Warner, I forgot to mention, Warner was, I think it was Warner and Stoinis were at the crease first. Shadab gets Warner. It's an outside edge. It's a googly straight back behind the keeper. By the way, I'm not sure if that was even out, because the Snicko showed it as not as no spike, which is bizarre because Warner just walked off. Didn't even bother reviewing it. So I don't know whether it had a dodgy hilt on his bat and it kind of, he heard the sound. But normally I feel like you can feel it. But I guess sometimes when it's almost like a feather, you don't quite know 100%. But it was like he was so certain he just walked off. So he must have either heard or felt something. But then they showed the replay as well, and there seemed to be a gap. There seemed to be daylight between bat and ball. So if Australia lose this match, they might look at that and say, why didn't he review that, right? And he wouldn't be made a scapegoat. I mean, he performed really well, 49 off 30. But if there may be a question of, why didn't you do that, mate? Like, come on. But 49 off 30 is a really good knock and probably deserved a 50. He was that good. He's come to form. And crazy because I know he didn't have a very good IPL, but he's a quality player, man. He is. He really is. And at the international stage, he tends to stand up and be counted, especially when it comes to white ball cricket as well, for sure. Stoinis then came in, obviously, with Matthew Wade at that point, as I said previously, at 96 for 5. And it was a rebuild job. And really, Pakistan, if they get a wicket at this stage, if they manage to break this partnership, they're in a very good position. A very, very good position, right? But these two did really well. Stoinis and Wade, they kept it ticking along. Running between the wickets is so crucial, and these guys did really well between the wickets. Pakistan, in terms of in the field, overall we were okay, apart from a few things. Australia obviously dropped multiple catches, right, in our innings, which helped us for sure. Quite uncharacteristic, by the way, as well from Australia. Some easy ones in there as well, to be fair. From a Pakistan point of view, though, it was the runouts that killed us before this point. There was multiple chances where we could have got people out. I think there were 5 shies at the stumps where literally the batsman, the non-striker, was stranded because he was backing up so much. There was a no call, and it was just like begging to be hit. I think one of the or two of them were. I think definitely Focus the one had one, and Shadab Khan. And they are probably 2 of our best fielders. I would have backed them to hit them. They didn't. They hit those stumps, I think, and we're in a very, very different match at that point. Even if they take one out of those 5 chances that they had, so I think that was slightly disappointing. On another day, they probably get 1 or 2 runouts from that, and then obviously it changes the complexion of the match. But Australia were their lack enough, and to be fair, like if you're given a chance, you cash in, and that's exactly what Stoinis and Wade did. They did really well, and then it got to a point where, to be fair, Hassan Ali just got... So there's an over from Hassan Ali which got absolutely destroyed. He went for... he got hit for 4... Sorry, he went for 2, no ball, 4, and then just got absolutely destroyed in that over. 6 was in there as well. Stoinis and Wade were just having a field day. And Hassan Ali hasn't had a particularly good tournament, honestly. Which is a shame because he's been very good for us, I think, in the past 2 years. And to be fair, before that, as well, before his injury, he was good for us. Obviously, part of the Champions Trophy winning side, right? Hasn't had a particularly good tournament, but he got hit for 21, I think it was, in that over, and that helped Australia a great deal. They needed one big over, and it was similar almost to that Jordan over that Neesham hit Jordan for in the previous semi-final. Exactly the same, almost, to be fair. And that's what changed the game completely. Then they only needed 10 and over. I think it was 11 and over. I think it's 33 off 3. They needed 33 off 3 overs. And Stoinis and Wade. And then we had Shaheen Afridi bowling the penultimate over. They needed 20 off 10 balls when the moment happened. And everyone knows what I'm talking about. Matthew Wade swings one into their leg side. It's in the air. Hassan Ali probably moves slightly late, potentially. Or it's just he's had to run from the off and he's moved early. Who knows? But either way, it's a running catch. He gets 2 hands on the ball. He should take it. And he doesn't. Should have taken the catch. Yes. Potential match losing drop. Yes. Was I cursing him at the time? Probably yes. But that's not the only reason, right, or we lost. They could have still gone on to win from there. Obviously, his over and that drop didn't help, for sure. The runouts were another factor, no doubt. Pakistan put up a good fight. They did. But that drop, I think, was almost like the nail in the coffin. Like, that's it, we're done. We're done. Because, you cannot give guys at this level... You cannot give guys at this level a chance. Especially someone like Matthew Wade, who's trying to clearly go aggressive. And Shaheen is like the worst person to get dropped on his bowling because it genuinely annoys him so much. You can tell it does as well. And then what happens is he tries to go for too much on the next ball because he's like, I don't want to count on someone taking my catch. So he just goes so full. And the batsman just reads it every time. They know it's coming. They know he's targeting the stumps. And that's exactly what Matthew Wade did. But before we get into the Matthew Wade heroics and how good that was, the Mike Hussey almost esque, knock that got them to the win, I want to make something really clear as well, because I put it on Twitter, I put it on the community page for YouTube as well. Yes, what I've just said about Hassan Ali is true, but I think we need to be very careful. We obviously saw it earlier in the World Cup with Mohamed Shami, and it's not acceptable. I haven't seen anything, but I'm just kind of almost preventatively saying this now. I don't want to hear anyone abusing him. You can say he had a bad game. You can say he hasn't had a good tournament. You can say, oh, maybe I think he should be dropped because he hasn't had a good tournament. Whatever, that's fine. But I don't want to hear any abuse to this guy, right? And like calling him names or anything. It's not on. No abuse whatsoever. It's a cricket match. It's not life or death. He didn't do it on purpose. So look, it happens. It's life. Who knows? Maybe we make the final. Maybe we would have made the final and lost anyway to New Zealand. They're a very good side. So I just think, let's take that and just remember that when you are commenting, when you are talking about the match, when you are, on YouTube, for example, and you're making comments, etc. as well. Just bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. He has got a family too. He has given sweat, blood, and tears to Pakistan for a number of years. And one really bad game for him shouldn't define his career. But anyway, Matthew Wade, 3 sixes. I mean, they were huge, man. I mean, and I think the reason why it was so hurtful is because the drop happened, right? And then next ball, paddled Shaheen over the keeper's head for 6. Ball after that hits him over mid-wicket for 6, right? Pickup shot, length delivery. Shaheen goes full again. Wade reads it, goes paddle over 6 for the winning runs. It was just incredible. And they did it with an over to spare. It was 3 consecutive sixes, and it was just like, what am I watching? It was surreal. Because after the drop, you're like, this is now very hard, but Pakistan can do this if they have a very, very good over here. And what happened is they just got completely and utterly dismantled in that over. And Shaheen, who's been so good, probably one of the pick of the bowl, if not the pick of the bowlers in this tournament, Matthew Wade just made him look like he was nothing, really. Absolutely nothing. And it was incredible batting from a very powerful and dynamic batsman in Matthew Wade. 41 of 17. What a knock. A match-winning knock. 2 fours, 4 sixes. And Stoinis, Marcus Stoinis, is someone who has now definitely owning the finisher status as well. 40 of 31. 2 fours, 2 sixes as well. Really, really good knock and fantastic partnership from those two. And they got Australia over the line. Let's see what they can do in the final. I will do a proper final preview. So do keep an eye out for that. In terms of for Pakistan, I just want to say a few things. It was really upsetting seeing them lose because I just feel like, as I said, they've had a very, very good tournament. And, obviously England were in a similar position as well, but we were unbeaten. We hadn't lost a single group game. And, we'd beaten India. We'd got on that kind of monkey off our back as well, never beating them in an ICC World Cup tournament. We have had a very good tournament. And yes, you are judged on your results of winning trophies for the most part. And yes, it's potentially an opportunity missed with the team we have, no doubt. But would I have been surprised if we hadn't made the semi-finals before the World Cup? No. I really thought it would be difficult with India, New Zealand, and even Afghanistan as well. I'm not quite sure how it bodes for us next year in Australia. I think obviously the seamers will have some joy there. I'm not quite sure how the batsmen and the spinners fare in Australia. We shall see how that goes. But, we'll have another opportunity in 12 months and let's see what we can do. But look, a lot of positives to take from this. Matthew Hayden, I think, has been really good as a batting coach. Also, Vernon Philander as a bowling coach. And Saklam Stark's been really good as well as an interim head coach. So I think overall, really good. I hope they do extend their time. It would make sense if they extend their time for the next year. Do it until the next T20 World Cup and then, just see how it goes. But I'm not quite sure. PCB is a bit all over the place, so you never know what they'll do. in terms of Australia, they've looked very, very dangerous in this semi-final. And good to see them playing good cricket, honestly. They do it again, though. They beat us in a very important knockout game. Well played to Australia, and all the best for the final. New Zealand, Australia, we will be streaming that, doing it live as a watch along on the channel. Do keep an eye out for that. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and do also click the notification bell as well to get alerted to all the new videos. I'll see you guys later. Apologies if I've been a little bit downbeat, but it will take me probably about a week to recover from the Pakistan loss, because it was just, if you get smashed, you just think, you know what, okay, it happens. You just thoroughly outplay. But it was a match where it could have gone either way, and there were some flash moments and flashpoints in the match that didn't go our way because of our own fault or whatever else. So that's just the way it is. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later. Stay safe and well. Thank you very much.